So good morning. I'm doing this video for a friend, but I thought I would do it so that other people could see it and see what you think, really. But it's just I was explaining about the rear end filters on the John Deere. Now, I've done a couple of the models, the earlier 2650 turbo, which we do at the workshop here. Obviously we've done those here, and on some of the John Deeres there's two filters in the back. That's the one that sits in the cast bowl underneath the tractor, and you've got this seal here. Now, I got asked by a friend how difficult of a job is it to do. It's not a difficult job to do by any shape or form. The trouble can come when you're trying to get this seal to stay seated around, because this is obviously, as you can see, twice the size of the filter, but that sits inside that cast bowl, and then that's your seal that goes around the rim of the cast bowl. Now, what can happen is, if you can't get that seal to sit properly around the rim of that cast bowl, when you're putting it back up gently, it can get squished, and that's how you can split it. So what we tend to do, which doesn't do any harm, we tend to get some water pump grease and put it around the rim of the cast bowl, and then seat the seal on the top of that, and that's so sticky that you can actually manipulate that seal into staying where it is, and then gently put it up into the housing. So that there is the housing for that filter that I've just showed you, and it goes up in. This here is you would drain your back end out of this plug here. You see it just there, and then after that's been drained, you can undo this to let out whatever's left in the filter housing, and then take it, and it all comes down, and then it's the top of the bowl is where you would put the new seal. Obviously give the bowl a good cleaning out, and you can also then put the water pump grease around the top of this. Some of the models, this is around here, but unfortunately this model, I've got till about there to do it, but I put it back so that nothing's in the way now, really. But obviously sometimes it's there, but this you'll find here can catch on the back of the transmission casket just there. And generally what we do here, because this tractor's only got one hydraulic filter, so I put the date, hours plus hydraulic, because obviously I know now that the engine oil and the back end oil were changed at the same time. That's the old one that I took out. You see just how dirty the paper is inside the filter. Yeah. So for those of you who know, that's obviously a cut down tube, but it's water pump grease. It's very, very sticky stuff, as you can see. And that's what you can use to put round the top of the casting of that filter housing, and stick and hold your seal before you put it back up into the housing. Put it back up in there gently, and the seal will sit nice and on that casting, and as you can see how sticky it is. Brilliant stuff, doesn't do any harm. As I say, you can do it without that if you like, but it only takes literally that seal to slip over and come off, and before you know it, you've put the filter housing back into the tractor, and you've got your oil in, and when it warms up it starts leaking because you've pinched the seal, because the seals are the same diameter as the casting on the top of the filter housing, but it is slightly bigger. But with the water pump grease, you can manipulate it and hold it in place. It's like like using cement basically, but it doesn't do it any harm. It just helps to increase the likelihood of that seal staying where it is, and when it goes back into the tractor, you can torque it up. You know, you don't need to go excessive on it at all. because obviously get the right torque setting on it, which I can't remember off the top of my head. It's all going to expand when it gets hot anyway, because that's what it will do. So we'll put a pressure meter on here now, and basically what we're going to do is start the tractor up, see what sort of pressure we've got coming in the hydraulic system. Now this one here, I don't know if you can see it very well, but it's actually quite damaged, so I'm going to land up changing that one. But a friend of mine was asking me about the seals, but in there is a plastic and rubber seal. You can just see it. So you can see on this one it's quite heavily damaged. So we will be changing this, and I'll show you the process of doing that. But in there's a plastic O-ring there and a rubber behind that. You can buy the kits for these if they start leaking at the connectors. Now this one is slightly damaged, but not as bad as that one. I can't get this pressure meter into that one. So what I'm going to do is fire the tractor up, and we're going to see what sort of pressure we've got coming on this spool valve. There you go, it's right where we want it to be. That's the inner lever. Nice. Doesn't drop off when you let the regs off. There's good power there. Yep, so it goes up near enough where it is on tick over, so happy with that. There you go, look at that. Good. Yep. So guys, the gaffer's just helped me test out. We got up to 2,500 to 2,800. Is that PSI on there, Al? Yeah. So good pressure in there. We're going to do a flow test after. Let's say that is damaged, so I've got to change that, but we'll go through that on a separate video. But that block there is for your inner lever. So hopefully that made a bit of sense, boys and girls. So that's a pressure test. There is obviously the possibility that when the oil gets hot after it's been worked, that the pressure will drop. But obviously, as it stands at the moment, it gives me a little bit of faith in towards the workings of that pump. So afterwards, we're going to do a flow meter test, which will get all piped up, and then that right hand coupling that you saw is quite damaged, so we're going to change that, and I'll go through a separate process of how that gets changed. Just want to see if there's one in the workshop first, in the stores, before we change it. We might have to order one in because there's obviously different sizes. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense.